Hi guys, and welcome to your daily tarot reading for Wednesday, the 5th of January 2022. Thanks for joining me. I'm going to use the Archeon Tarot for today's reading. This is a bit of a weird deck. I don't usually use this. It was recommended to me a few years ago. And it does have a particular kind of mood, but I find the images quite gloomy and weird. And unnecessarily kind of sexualized. I really don't see the need for that in the tarot too much. I mean, the Two of Wands seems kind of gratuitous to me. That's about taking charge of your life. I mean, you can do that with a shirt on, last time I checked. Okay, let's see what the cards have to say about Wednesday, the 5th of January, and what energy you'll be working with. So let's have a look. First card is the Tower. Okay. Big change. Then we have the Ace of Pentacles. Oh, wow, and Death. Okay, so very dramatic and big themes here. So it's interesting. Usually when you speak to someone who has started reading the tarot for people and then stopped suddenly, if you ask them what happened, like, why did you stop reading them? A lot of people say, oh, it's because of cards like the Tower and Death. It can be the Hanged Man, the Ten of Swords. The Tower just seems too negative for me. And I'm just trying to, get some guidance here. I don't need to be confronted with things like Death and the Tower. First of all, the tower isn't literal. So, it's not like you're going to run into a tower today and the whole thing crumbles. And death is also very, very, very unlikely. I say very, very unlikely because it's, never certain for any of us if we're going to see tomorrow. But it doesn't talk about literal death. Okay, so that's the first thing. Second of all, you do have to have things in the cards that talk about major upheaval, like the Tower, and major endings like the Death card does, because if you didn't have these things in the cards, then they wouldn't be accurate. It would all just be like, oh yeah, everything's a bowl of cherries, everything's hunky-dory, and then as a divination systems, they wouldn't be useful. Obviously, because I'm explaining this means that I'm looking at these cards myself and saying, okay, wow, so these are big themes here. What are we looking at? So let's see what that is. The Tower is a card, it's the major arcana. So you're on the Fool's journey, and then suddenly you realize, wow, something I've relied on for a long time, something that was like part of the furniture because it was so familiar, that's suddenly gone out of my life. It's been blown up. It's just gone poof. And the rug has been pulled out from under me. It's like I don't have this thing, this person, this institution, this group of people breathing down my neck and saying you should do this and you should do this, and I'm totally free. Like the Tower is often this big imposing structure. Lightning strikes, the people go flying, and often a crown is kind of blown up too, and everything comes undone. And it is a major upheaval, but the thing about it is too that these people in the Tower often represent authority figures, and it's kind of like no one and no thing is going to tell me what to do with my life anymore. I'm no longer oppressed. I'm no longer a cog in a wheel in a machine, part of something bigger here where I have no choice, no freedom, nothing. There's just an expectation that I follow the job that's been laid out for me, and that's it. Here we've got these old kind of ruins of a church, and here we have this young woman in front, protecting herself from something that seems to be destroying everything. It seems like a big fire is going through. So fire often, not often, it always burns things away, and then what's left is ash. So it's a process of cleansing again and taking something that is rock solid and removing it with nothing. So it's a feeling that's like, oh wow, this isn't nice, but it does give you options for the future. And the Tower card here today says that something may feel uncomfortable. You may get some news that you don't want, or something that's been a familiar influence or, a touchstone in your life is no longer there. And that on this day and moving into the future, you're going to have to do things differently. And the Ace of Pentacles is next. So first of all, I think that the upheaval could relate to your physical circumstances, your finances, your career, your living situation, the routine nature of your life. Something drastic may happen and throw you off off balance and off course. And then second of all, the space that's created through this upheaval then creates an opening for something new to come in. And the Ace of Pentacles is a blessing from the universe as it relates to all of these earthy practical things, your career and how you live and your health and all these earthy practical things. So these are opposites really, because the Ace of Pentacles is something that's presented to you and the Tower is something that's taken away. Now the Tower, like I said, is often oppressive, but also comforting. Because, you know, like Stockholm Syndrome, you start making friends with your captor. You start to become comfortable and familiar in your oppressive surroundings because they are so routine and familiar. And it's like the devil you know as such. So that's going to be taken away. It's going to create some anxiety and you have to get your bearings again. But then something is going to replace that straight away. And if you look at what's coming up in future, then you're on the path to winning as such, because you're looking forward and you're looking at what's coming in. If you face the past and you try and maintain what is being taken away here, that's not going to be as effective because you can't go against this change. The Death card, the one thing about it is that you really can't argue with it. Death either is or isn't. You can put down an amazing argument why this body should continue, like if you look at it in a physical sense. But when the body no longer works and life is over, then it's over. There's nothing you can do or say. So I think digging in your heels and trying to maintain things which aren't going to stick around anyway, that's not going to work in your favor. Being adaptable and working with the process and going with the flow, I feel, is going to enrich you most. Because the Death card says this ending is going to happen whether you like it or not. And then it creates the space for something new to grow. And the Ace of Pentacles says there's a major opportunity for you to grow in terms of your creative output, in terms of creating new art, design, making the world more beautiful. There are opportunities when it comes to your work and taking a new direction in your work. What I also find very interesting here is that we've got these coins on here, but this very much looks like a map to me. And it kind of reminds me of the Wheel of Fortune. So it says that you're in control of your circumstances. You're at the center here and you can decide which direction you go in. And again, it's all those things that are ruled by Earth. So what am I going to do with my job? Where am I going to live? How am I going to live? Do I have a healthy lifestyle? Do I want to change that? So if there's an addiction, something that you have been trying to get rid of for a long, long time, so you know that, smoking or abusing certain medications isn't going to work in the long term. You've known that for a long time, but you haven't been able to let go. Then sometimes you need a drastic ending to cut ties with that kind of thing because it exists in you. And that's often very difficult it feels like you have to split yourself in half and go against yourself. That's why addiction can be such a tricky thing, because it's like, how do I go against my own will here? So something like that oppresses you and at the same time feels comfortable can come undone. You can then invest in that process mentally and say, oh, I haven't kind of indulged in this for a while, or it's not been as bad as it usually has been. Maybe I should take this moment, this opportunity to say, I'm going to finish this and live differently. I'm going to move in a different direction. Could be a job that you no longer like, but you're too afraid of leaving it. You're afraid of leaving it because your benefits are amazing. So you sit there bored to tears every day, but you have dental and medical and etc., and life insurance. And that can keep you stuck too. So you need a push like this to say, no more. Change is natural and normal. I'm going to embrace change and face my fears, end this and move forward. It can be your routine. So if you're doing something every week or let's say every other day, you're bringing food to your neighbor, but they don't really need it. Maybe they had an illness, right? And you offered to bring their food over for a while. They've recovered now, but they still expect you to bring the food, and it's all become very comfortable and lovely. You don't want to upset the neighbor. And you need some with those kind of situations, it usually builds up for a long time before you say no more or before there's a confrontation or something like that. And this is the kind of energy that you need to say, this doesn't suit me, I don't accept it, I'm going to choose differently, I'm going to let this go, whatever it is, finish it off and see what comes. I'm sure something better will come along that I can do with my afternoons. So this is the opportunity for massive, serious change, and you can choose a completely different direction for your entire life that's going to completely transform the way your life looks. You can have a very different experience if you're living as a single person in London in a 2-bedroom flat, or if you live with your family of 8 in a house in Antigua, you know? So the 2 different lives. And you can have both of those lives. It just depends on your circumstances. Or no, not your circumstances at all. That's the opposite. On your decisions. Those change your circumstances. Number-wise, we've got 16 and 1 is 17. Yeah. 17 and 13 is 30. 30 reduces to 3 in numerology, and 3 is about communication and new beginnings. So the communication is that something inarguably is now done with and over, and it gives you room to pursue something completely new and something totally different. So it's interesting that all these cards are endings. This is something that's a new beginning, something's given to you, but this is moving away. And that the numbers then are 3 about new beginnings. And that's really the takeaway. Not to look at what's lost or what's leaving, but to celebrate the space that appears in your life that you can now fill with something fabulous. So I hope you have a great day. If you would like a personal reading with me, please get in touch via my website. It's gregoryscott.com. On the front page, click on book your reading to order your reading with me. I use the tarot, astrology, and numerology in my personal reading. So if you have any questions about certain things in your life, like work or health or career or love, relationships, living situation, or anything at all, or you want to look at what's coming up in future, then please do get in touch with me for a personal reading. We can look at that. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Please hit subscribe and share the video online. Have an amazing day, and I'll speak to you tomorrow.